6th, join us for the street party featuring Eli and the Mojo Kings performing at 8 p.m. Before the show, you can visit Center Market specialty shops and have dinner at one of our quality eateries. Meet, shop, eat, and then party with Eli and the Mojo Kings on First Friday, August 6th at the iconic Center Market in Wheeling. Sponsored by Main Street Bank, Wheeling Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the City of Wheeling.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster. With a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday, partly sunny skies with a chance of a shower or storm through the afternoon, a daytime high of 82. Partly cloudy overnight, 63 for the low, a mix of clouds and sunshine for your Wednesday, with temperatures in the lower 80s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Conversations you care about from people you know. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe, celebrating the 100 days of summer.
That's what I call cutting it short. I just sat down in this chair. I was making a second cup of coffee, and I don't know, I kind of forgot that we had another show to do, another hour to get underway. I made it back. Whew. Just barely in time, though. All right, coffee is good. 59 degrees, clear skies at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 59 and slightly foggy here at my home studio. Sun is trying to make itself known, but it's still making its known through the fog. 59 and foggy at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Sunny and dry for most of the valley today. Daytime high should be up to around 80. All in all, pretty good day. We do look for maybe some pop-up showers in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. So let's kind of be aware of that. But all in all, going to be pretty much just like yesterday was. A gorgeous day. A gorgeous day. We have spent most of our morning, and we'll spend a good bit more of it, talking about COVID concerns, the Delta variant, vaccines. We talked to State Senator and medical doctor Ron Stallings about the politicization of vaccines in the last hour of the show. Marshall County has dropped into the red on the color-coded map, so Threat Preparedness Director Mark Ackerman from Marshall County will join us to talk about their numbers and what they mean and what kind of clinics they've got and how the vaccination efforts are going and all of that sort of stuff coming up a bit later on. Elsewhere, Wheeling Council reportedly mulling over a one-time business tax waiver for downtown businesses. And we'll have our national correspondent, Tom Squitieri, with us here in only a minute or two to talk about some of the things happening in the nation's capital. One thing that happened in the nation's capital yesterday, Lindsey Graham announced that he has been diagnosed with COVID. He tested positive for COVID. And this was after, and he has been vaccinated, but this was after he was at a little gathering on Senator Manchin's houseboat. Senator Manchin, Senators Rosen, and Mark Kelly were all in contact with Graham on that boat over the weekend. Manchin, his folks say that he is following proper protocol procedures in the wake of a possible exposure. However, he has been fully vaccinated and isn't overly concerned about that. So Senator Manchin, it was his houseboat where Lindsey Graham got COVID. I don't know that. It's where, but Lindsey Graham has COVID and was diagnosed, and he was on the houseboat over the weekend. So I'm sure Senator Manchin will offer more thoughts on that probably as the day goes on. Let's go over to Tom Squitieri, our national correspondent this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. How are you today? I wasn't on the boat, by the way. I was just
going to ask you where you weren't on that boat with those folks, were you?
No. I wonder where that boat is docked here in D.C. When I first moved to Washington, I lived along the Potomac River, a beautiful small apartment, but, beautiful by the river. This is before they developed the river. And there are a lot of boats that were docked right there. A lot of people who worked on Capitol Hill actually lived on boats, younger people, and they found it very convenient. The presidential yacht, which used to exist, would come up and down the river as well. So there are quite a few places along the Potomac River where the House and Senate members and others have their boats or yachts, as you called it.
Our former congressman here in Eastern Ohio, Bob Ney, when Bob was in Congress, had a houseboat. That's where he lived when he was in the nation's capital. And although I couldn't tell you now where it was, I know he has pointed it out to me before where it was. I mean, we've been on another boat going past it. He goes, "That's where my houseboat was," but I couldn't tell you where it was. But yeah, I guess that's not unusual at all for some of the, particularly those who don't have a family with them in D.C. Houseboat is, I guess, where a lot of them like to live.
And there was for a long time, and I don't know how it is now. You didn't pay taxes. You didn't pay D.C. taxes living on the houseboat because you didn't have essentially a property. So there's other advantages of it, and low maintenance, whatever. Anyway, that's an interesting story. What does fascinate me, Howard, is when we have these notable people like Senator Graham, who sadly get COVID. They make sure we know that they were vaccinated, and that's interesting that they say that, which is helpful. I guess it's helpful because then it helps those who say, well, you could see even with vaccinations, you can still get COVID, but Graham doesn't seem to be in a dire straits from COVID. Thank goodness. He got it, and because that's the other theme of the vaccinations is that. You can still get COVID, but it will be a mild version of it. Your life won't be as threatened as it would be if you didn't have the vaccination. So it's helpful.
And that's really important to point out. Also, I was just sharing this with the audience right before the break. We in the media sometimes, because reporting breakthrough cases of people who have been vaccinated and yet have still gotten COVID, we have to do that. That's important to do that. But it sometimes can be taken out of perspective. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation report released this week, less than 1% of fully vaccinated people ever do experience a breakthrough, meaning they get COVID. So, yes, it can happen. Absolutely, it can happen. There's no disagreement with that. Lindsey Graham's a good example of it. There are others. But two things, as you point out. Number one, it is a much milder form you get if you have been vaccinated. And number two, the percentage of those who have been vaccinated and who have still gotten COVID is really relatively small. I mean, I think there's a tendency for people to get, oh my God, even with the vaccine. So why get the vaccine if we're going to get COVID anyway? And that's not the case. It still is.
That's the threat, as you said, danger of that. And there are cases of people who have had COVID and, think they're immune to it, have then gotten the vaccination and still get COVID again. So, the reality is COVID is a lot of variations and it impacts people differently. Much like the vaccine is not good for some people. Let's be honest about that. There's some reactions some people have to it. Small number, but still some do. It's just the thorough reporting, as you point out, that's critical. And overall, the vaccine, the data shows that it's very effective and very helpful to have to ward off against a serious attack or any attack of COVID. And, again, Senator Graham, he said he got it. He notes he was vaccinated, so he's not pretending to be anything he isn't, and he wanted people to know that. In fact, it's good because he was as you said, he was on this boat with Senator Manchin and others, and they need to know this.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like anything else. These kind of things can happen with the flu vaccine or anything else. Some people do have a reaction to a flu vaccine. Some people get the flu vaccine and still come down with the flu. These things do happen. But I don't say play the odds because the odds are dramatically in your favor with the vaccine. But, it can happen. The fact that it can happen. I hate to use this example because everybody does. I can get hit by a car crossing the street, but it doesn't mean I choose not to cross the street anymore. So everything has to be put in perspective, and I think that's where we lose perspective these days, particularly about COVID. And if you look at the nationwide numbers, while we are seeing dramatic rises in COVID, we're seeing it primarily in those areas where there are large numbers of the unvaccinated. Yeah. So just look at the numbers, look at the science, and I think we can I think we can get a better sense of this. I still worry, and we're actually I saw a number this morning, border to border, coast to coast, we're actually at 70% vaccination rate now, which is good. But the problem is we have these pockets like Florida, which are highly unvaccinated. West Virginia is even only 50% vaccinated. We started out being one of the best in the country, and now we're only 50% vaccinated. So, you know, statistically, we've hit that 70% mark, but that's very state and area specific.
Hey, I'd like to talk about the 70% mark for 1 second on a different theme, if you don't mind. You know, it struck me, I read that today, and, you know, President Biden had hoped to have 70% by July 4th, and he didn't make that mark, and now it's a month later, and it appears that we haven't hit that mark. So I'm fascinated to watch the reporting on how this is going to be. Yeah, he didn't make it on July 4th. Everyone reported that, and, you know, those opponents of his mocked him for not making it. But the idea is we did hit 70% a month later, and that's that's the benchmark we were shooting for on July 4th. Well, congratulations to us. We made it a month later, but in the case of COVID, which is with a variant now Delta coming and others, Lambda, you want to keep the thing going. You want to keep the vaccination rate going. So I think it's a good news story that we hit 70%, if indeed, you know, you're a person who believes in the vaccination. Even though it was a month late, it's not as if it's a filing deadline here where you have to you want to keep the rate going and going. I mean, I don't know what your perspective is, but it'd be interesting how stories and news stories are framed. And just as we were talking about Senator Graham's announcement. Well,
again, my perspective though is 70% is a good number. It's a great number to reach, and I always thought these artificial deadlines. We'll do it by July 4th or within my first 100. That's who can possibly predict that? You know, you can say that's my goal. Didn't quite make it. Here it is a month later. To me, that's no big deal. 70%, still good, but again, we got to look at it in perspective. What we're seeing is in the areas where there's unvaccinated people to a large extent, the COVID cases are still going up, and that's really the issue. In West Virginia, we now have 2 weeks ago, I say two, maybe it's been 3-4 weeks ago, we have the color-coded map. 3 weeks ago, everybody was in green. Green meaning no problems, all clear. Now, over half of the state is not in green. Two counties, including one local one, are in the red, which is the worst category. Ohio County, where our station is located, is in the gold, which is the next to worst category. 37 counties are now not in green. So, we're seeing the effects of not having a strong enough vaccination yet in this state. We're not out of the woods yet, I guess, is maybe what I'm trying to say.
Not for a long time.
Talking to Tom Squitieri, our national correspondent here on the Watchdog Morning Show. A couple of things I want to get into with you, Tom, besides COVID. And COVID is kind of our theme of the morning this morning. But it seems to me as if tensions, particularly in Congress, on Capitol Hill in general, but in Congress in particular, tensions are really rising. I mean, we saw Kevin McCarthy say to a group of folks, and the word got out that, if he became speaker, he'd like to take the speaker's gavel and beat Nancy Pelosi with it. Our own Congressman Dave McKinley this week, according to Politico magazine, got into a dust-up with a North Carolina Congressman Cawthorn, who went to his office and raised a bit of a ruckus about being inappropriately placed on a bill that McKinley was sponsoring. Got into a real shouting match, I guess, with a member of his staff. Then Cawthorn and McKinley took it to the House floor. McKinley called him Junior all the time. And he said, "I'm sorry, who are you, sir? You know who I am." And others said it was close to breaking into a fist fight. My point is, it seems like tensions are really running high on Capitol Hill.
I fully agree with you, particularly in the House, because of the January 6th Commission and the whole Republican fratricide going on between some members of one persuasion and those of another, and also I've noticed more and more that members of Congress, House members of members of the House seem to come to get attention as opposed to legislate, and because of that, it's someone once said this about former President Trump, that he doesn't care if he wins the argument, he just wants to have the argument, and I think that's sort of a feeling. I don't think it seems pretty clear to me that many members of the House have that same approach to being in Washington. They want to have the argument. They want to, be boisterous and vocal about their positions. In the old days of some, deference of courtesy to all members, the rules of how you can speak and address members, particularly in the Senate, seem to be framed. I remember once years ago, Howard, it was when Senator Jesse Helms was in there, obviously from North Carolina also, and Senator Simpson of Wyoming, two Republicans. And Senator Helms had been engaging in what was a common tactic of his, which was adding what's called poison pill amendments to bills, trying to pick off support, when the bill is finalized. And he did something, and I can't remember exactly what, but it was a culmination of a series of events. And this is in the Senate chamber now, And Helms was sitting on the Republican side about 3 rows back, and Simpson's desk was about 2 rows behind Helms, directly behind him. And Simpson, for listeners who don't know, he's tall and lanky. He kind of looks like a cowboy in the sort of all-American image of a lean, tough frontier guy. And I mean that as a compliment, And he stood up, and he was articulating in the Senatee's language of politeness about the performance of his colleague, remember another Republican colleague, how rotten it was. And then he came to this line, "Never have I seen such an odious performance in the Senate." And that was considered, it's harsh words, but that was considered very harsh because of the sort of protocols of niceties that existed in the House. And so the gentleman from, North Carolina, the gentleman from Wyoming, the gentle lady from Maryland. So that was people were aghast. And now such courtesies don't even seem to exist, particularly in the House. I mean, Kevin McCarthy's comment that you referred to, he later did say, well, he was joking. But the crux of something like that is when even if he was joking, and I'm not going to make a judgment on that, that's the kind of joke that then, as we have seen, extrapolate into action by followers or the haters of, in this case, Speaker Pelosi. Oh, yeah, and then, you'll see this buzz being generated. That's how, unfortunately, it is today.
And I wouldn't draw a connection here at all, but in the grand scheme of things, you got to keep in mind that Pelosi was during the January 6th incident, her office was ransacked. The crowd often was threatening to get her. So I mean, she has been the victim of serious threats, and obviously Kevin McCarthy wasn't serious, but it's all the milieu that occur. When you can't even have courtesy among your own colleagues, it's easier for your non-colleagues to be discourteous, to the point of some of these folks saying things like, I don't know if they said string her up, but, there were a lot of very specific threats made against Nancy Pelosi.
I may have said this on your show before, but I always think it's worth repeating if I can, when such courtesies existed. I'll give 2 quick examples. One is when Nancy Pelosi became Speaker of the House the first time, and George W. Bush was president, and he was giving his State of the Union address. And, of course, the vice president and the speaker sit behind the president during this. And President Bush, is in his introduction, he goes, "Oh, thank you to the crowd." And he goes, "Thank you," and he goes, "And for the first time, thank you, Madam Speaker." And he turned and sort of gestured it, and everyone stood up and applauded because that was courteous, okay? And then before that, during the actual reading of the Electoral College votes, which caused January 6th, but this was after Ronald Reagan defeated incumbent President Jimmy Carter for president, and Vice President Mondale was doing the role that Vice President Pence did this year, was reading the ballots, and of course he did the one for president first, and then he read the votes for vice president, and he says, according to the tally, I'm paraphrasing, George Bush of the state of Texas received, 350 votes, and there was polite applause. And then he sort of says with his grin, and Walter F. Mondale, the state of Minnesota, received 67 votes. And there was a roar, and both sides of the chamber stood up and applauded and cheered and whistled. And he laughed. The gesture was, we respect you. You lost. And I always think of these moments of civility like this, of course, totally elusive, that what we're talking about now. It did happen, and it can happen.
It did happen. I suppose it can happen again. I hope it can happen again. I guess there is still some hope for compromise, though. Over in the Senate, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is at least being debated and is moving through. I don't know that it's going to get Republican votes to pass, but there at least were enough Republican votes to get the debate going. The infrastructure proposal is being called a bipartisan plan, so I guess there is still some hope for bipartisan policy and bipartisan work.
I think you're right. It's funny that, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the very good here. And I think the Democrats, for the most of them, are coming over to that philosophy on the bipartisan bill. It's taken a long time to get there, but in a way, many members of the House and Senate on both parties want to have this. They want to have, not just because it's infrastructure and important, which it is, but they want to have this major bipartisan bill emerge from Congress, even though, some of the Republicans in particular don't want to have it because it helps, quote unquote, helps President Biden. It'll be nice to see it pass. It seems like a pretty important piece of legislation. It doesn't have everything in it, but that's the way compromise works.
Right, and that is the way compromise works. Tom, let's talk about something you and I have talked about several times in the past. The Afghanistan issue still concerns me. The administration yesterday expanded the Afghan refugee program a little bit, but as we talked about last week, it still seems as if things in Afghanistan are deteriorating as we are pulling out.
Yeah, I know we're running out of time, so I'll be quick. You're correct. Yesterday, Howard, the second group of Afghan refugees arrived at Fort Lee, Virginia. That's positive. Another 200 with their families, so we got a couple thousand there now. And then administration expanded. They created what's called a Priority 2 designation. These are for Afghans who did not work for the U.S. government, but worked for the media, humanitarian groups, non-governmental organizations, et cetera, who were, vital, just as vital in those roles as they were to the U.S. military and State Department. There's a hitch, however, in that these Afghans have to get out of the country on their own. They're not going to be transported out by the U.S. So that is a big, big impediment. On the ground, the Taliban continues to move forward. According to some reports, they seized a television station in a big city called Lashkar. That's in southwest Afghanistan. It's one of the regional capitals. It would be the first time they're in it. They're pressuring two other, cities, Kandahar and Herat, the second and fourth largest cities in Afghanistan. And the Afghan president yesterday, President Ghani, blamed the United States' sudden withdrawal for the sort of collapse here, which, of course, is going to have a lot of people at the Pentagon very unhappy at today's briefing.
But there is, sudden withdrawal is a weird phrase, but we are pulling out, and Afghanistan's going to have to defend for itself to a large extent. And
that's true. That's true. I'm not debating the fact, nor is anyone debating it. The withdrawal of the NATO and U.S. force has, made it easier for the Taliban. The U.S. is conducting airstrikes still in support of the Afghan military, but the bottom line was going to be that the Afghans, as you said, have to take care of their own country. And the scathing report that came out over the end of last week, not after I was on your show last Tuesday, by the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan, just pointed out how, what we've done. They kept moving the goalposts and changing the goals. It was a classic Vietnam mistake, where they're doing, and that's what he was saying. He evoked that phrase, and of course the Pentagon really doesn't like to hear that.
Well, it goes back to the old clearly defined mission, clearly defined exit strategy, and I don't think we really ever had either. We did our best, I suppose, but we leave Afghanistan, as so often happens with Afghanistan. We leave it with we leave it to fend for itself, which is, it's not the first time they've had that happen there.
No.
So we'll see. Tom, appreciate your time this morning as always. Hope you have a good week. Stay away from Lindsey Graham.
I will. And Joe's boat, yacht.
Yeah, don't go out on the boat for a while. We'll talk to you
Thanks
next
a lot,
week.
Howard.
Appreciate
Bye.
it. Tom Squitieri is our national correspondent. We just, once a week, we kick around some of the big national stories here on the Watchdog Morning Show. It's 8:33, 27 till the hour. We're still looking at, let me just double check to make sure I have not seen a temperature change. 59 degrees still, 59 and clear at the airport, 59 and clearing up here at the home studio. It started out really foggy. It's not nearly as foggy. Still some fog floating around, but the sun is out there as well. And 59 and foggy at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Marshall County has gone into the red on the COVID map as of yesterday. I have not looked at today's numbers yet, but as of yesterday, it was red. We'll talk to Threat Preparedness Director for the Health Department, Mark Ackerman, in the next hour of the show. A little bit about what's going on in Marshall County. What are the numbers? What are his concerns? What's being done? And all that kind of good stuff. So that's all coming up next hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Right now, what's coming up is headlines from our friends at the Big 7, WTRF TV.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's
Metro News Sports, good morning. I'm Kyle Wiggs. Bridgeport won the State American Legion Baseball Championship, beating South Charleston 5-2 in Sunday's title game. Nate Paulson homered in the game for Bridgeport. Starter Cole Peschel struck out 10 for the win. So Bridgeport, is the West Virginia State champ, gets entry into the American Legion Great Lakes Regional, which will begin Wednesday on Dale Miller Field at Milan Park in Morgantown. There will be two West Virginia representatives in that tournament. Bridgeport will play Rockport, Indiana at 4:30 on Wednesday, and Morgantown Post 2, the host team, will take on Harrison, Ohio at 7:30 coming up on Wednesday. That regional tournament continues through Sunday. Preseason high school football practice opens today around the state. Joe Braccato of Metro News is touring the state.
Continue to be required. That was a look at your headlines. Have a great day, everyone.
AutomotiveMap.com presents the Sports Flash, powered by the Score on the Watchdog. I'm John Thayer. Major League Baseball action yesterday. The Philadelphia Phillies outlasted the Washington Nationals 7-5. The Phillies had 12 hits in the ballgame. The Nationals, with the loss, fall to 49-57. Elsewhere, the Baltimore Orioles were all over the New York Yankees 7-1. The Orioles pounded out 11 hits in the victory. Jorge Lopez got the win. He's now 3-12. The Orioles are 38-67. Pittsburgh Pirates scored a couple of runs late, but it was too little too late. They fell to the Brewers in Milwaukee 6-2. Both teams with 6 hits in the ballgame. The Pirates are 40-66. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. I'm John Thayer with the Sports Flash, powered by the Score on the Watchdog.
The sale's on at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com. Stock up for school with 40 to 70% off almost everything and deals from $13. Find it all at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com through August 10th.
In some places, it's always rush hour, and the honking never stops. At Nature Valley, we wouldn't have it any other way. Take in the outdoors with Nature Valley granola bars.
Blue Star medicated ointment. Get
Hey, man, what can I get you?
Yeah, can I have 2 Coors Lights?
You got it. Hey, Mike! I need 2 Coors Lights!
Sure thing. With a taste as cold as the Rockies, only Coors Light gives you refreshment every time. Here you go.
Thanks, Mike. Doing a great job. All right, 2 ice-cold Coors Lights.
That's the coldest beer I've ever had.
Hey, they don't call it the world's most refreshing beer for nothing.
Okay, be honest with me. Do you really have the Rocky Mountains in your beer cooler?
You don't believe it? Check it out.
Man, that's pretty amazing.
I know, right? I can't believe it myself sometimes. I mean, this cooler is only 3 feet wide.
Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. With great beer comes great responsibility.
Most of us are faced with uncertainty every day. Your job, your finances, sporting events, schooling for your children, and so much more. With so much uncertainty surrounding you, there's one auto dealership that you can be certain about, and that's Doan Ford. You can be certain that you always get a great deal and the best service afterwards. Being in business for over 50 years has given Doan Ford the reputation of being a strong, reliable dealership. Be certain. Choose Doan Ford. Online at DoanFord.com.
I'm not buying till I check Doan Ford.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame wraps up the greatest enshrinement week ever with the concert event of the summer, when Brad Paisley and Leonard Skinner headline the Concert for Legends, Monday, August 9th at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium in Canton. Tickets for this one-of-a-kind concert experience are on sale now at ProFootballHof.com. Brad Paisley, Leonard Skinner, sharing the stage for the first time ever in Canton, Monday, August 9th. Get your tickets at ProFootballHof.com.
The annual Wheelin' Feelin' Chili Cook-Off is right around the corner. Join us August 7th from noon to 6 for the Ohio Valley's best chili. Stop on down at Wheeling's Heritage Port to enjoy great food, an antique car show, and live music featuring the New Age Adinas and Eli and the Mojo Kings. The Wheeling Feeling Chili Cook-Off is an International Chili Society sanctioned event, and all proceeds benefit the United Way of the Upper Ohio Valley. Saturday, August 7th at Wheeling's Heritage Port from noon to 6, rain or shine. See you there.
Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 want to thank the owners and contractors of the Ohio Valley for using their locally trained workers to help build for the future. Local 83 helps design, fabricate, and build the gas infrastructure for the oil and gas industry here in the Ohio Valley. Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 is 300 members strong and growing. They also do residential, commercial, and industrial work on both sides of the river. For more information, call Plumbers and Steam Fitters Local 83 at 304-233-4445.
You're never too far from the most local programming in the Ohio Valley. Find us here. AM 1600 and 1370, FM 98.1 and 97.7. We are the Watchdog. The Watchdog.
We're on air, online, on video, and on demand. Find us where you like us. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
8:43, 17 till the hour. We're kicking around till 10. Shortly after 10 o'clock, Hoppy Kercheval is in, statewide talk line. As always, Hoppy back from vacation this week, so it's the Hopster himself. And coming up today on statewide talk line, Senator Shelley Moore Capito will be in to talk about the infrastructure bill right off the top. Andrew Schneider, the executive director of Fairness West Virginia, will be talking about a vote that was taken by Charleston City Council to ban so-called conversion therapy, the belief that you can take someone who is gay and convert them back to being non-gay. That'll be talked about today with Hoppy and Andrew Schneider. Let's see. Steve Conley, the special prosecutor for the state auditor's office, will be in to talk about a guilty plea by former Richwood Mayor Bob Henry Baber. He was the mayor. He was found guilty of defrauding, essentially, the city of money, spending some flood relief money for personal things and so on. There'll be conversation about that with Hoppy coming up today. And Al Wright, the CEO and president of WVU Health Systems, the parent company of WVU Medicine, will be in to be talking about the COVID situation. So all of that's coming up today. Statewide talk line, 10:06 is when they get underway with Mr. Kercheval. After that, of course, is the noon news live from the news desk of WTRF TV. So if you're out and about during the day and you want to catch the news at noon, you can't get to a TV set to watch Channel 7, just listen to it on the radio. Just be listening to AM 1600, FM 98.1, and the news will be there for you, live from the anchor desk of WTRF TV. And after they give you their headlines, it's time for the Bill DeFabio Variety Show. Bill's got actually a couple of guests coming up today, right, Biffy?
Yes, he does. He has one in the, I believe, 12 o'clock hour and the 1 o'clock hour. The 12 o'clock hour is Eddie Johnson, the former coach back in the day of the Penguins, and I think he one time was the GM as well. And then in the 1 o'clock hour, Mel Blunt will be on with Bill to talk about the Hall of Fame, which the Hall of Fame game is actually on Thursday, 2 days away. The Steelers and the Cowboys in Canton, Ohio at Tom Benson Stadium. And I think the festivities. That's the word, I couldn't think of the word there for a second. The
festivities.
Yes,
the festivities.
The festivities will be over the weekend again with the game on Thursday.
And I'll talk about more tomorrow. We've got some tickets. If some of you might want to go to some of the festivities, some of the induction ceremonies, and also the Monday night concert featuring Brad Paisley, we've got some tickets to the Hall of Fame game, not game, but to the Hall of Fame festivities that we'll be giving away. I'll tell you more about that tomorrow. And then, of course, Bill's on until 3. After that, Dave Weekly and Hotline, all kinds of good stuff. The question of the day, in and out, where they take some topics and say, is it in, is it out? The latest sports news in particular, all the news of the day as well. We've got Ohio Valley headlines. We've got Ohio Valley sports in there. Darnell's got weather every 10 minutes or so. So be sure to head home with Dave Weekly and Hotline from 3 to 5. And when that's over, another hour of news from WTRF TV. That's the way our day is lining up today for you. Hopefully you'll be with us most of the day today. 13 till the hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. According to the Morning Intel today, Wheeling City Council is considering a license fee exemption for some downtown businesses. And I like this idea. I'm not sure how much money is really going to be involved in helping them, but at least it's an acknowledgement that there's a lot of trouble in downtown right now. If you're a business downtown, there's a huge amount of positive stuff happening in the city. In fact, I'm going to try and get the mayor to come on later this week to talk about all the good stuff happening. Not just the stuff the city is doing, but there's an awful lot of private investment. The mayor talked about this at some length in his State of the City speech last week. McCabe and I kicked this around a bit in our Friday roundtable on Friday. There's a lot of good stuff going on. But downtown Wheeling, Biffy, oh, God, what a disaster,
We have our own video game here in downtown.
It's like Frogger?
Yes, that one.
Yeah. I mean, the streets are completely torn up. You never know what street is going to be closed on any given day. When you come into downtown, you sort of decide, do I get in the left-hand lane or the right-hand lane? Which lane will be closed today? And, of course, it doesn't make any difference because whichever lane is open, you'll still go bum, 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 driving over the Beirut-style bombed-out potholes and stuff. Then because they're doing water line work and sewer work and power line work and the road is a disaster. Sometimes you even get your building flooded.
There is that, and then there's the unfortunate incident that I ran into yesterday going home for lunch on the Fort Henry Bridge. There
there's all kind of traffic. I'm thinking, man, what's all this traffic for? It's lunchtime. I said, it's not that bad. Well, some idiot decided to try and drive an oversized load on the island and get off at the island exit on the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So luckily, I think the workers on the bridge realized what was going on, and there was a police car because I went over to get off the exit and they had it closed, and that was why. So if you had to get to Wheeling Island yesterday during lunchtime, you had to either go through Bridgeport and come back, or go round or wherever just to get on the island yesterday during lunch. So that was exciting. But yeah, I drove by, and you're looking and you're thinking, it was one of those ones. I don't know if they had like a, how you see those like houses or whatever that were on there. It was some type of structure that it was no way there was no way it was going to go down the exit to get to the island. So,
but whoever was driving thought, give it a shot.
Yeah, so
give it a shot.
So I don't know again if it's the same situation on the Fort Henry Bridge that used to be on the suspension bridge, where if you put it in your GPS. If the GPS is taking you now across the Fort Henry Bridge instead of the suspension bridge, so that was fun.
I didn't know what any of the problems were, but I was following it on Ohio Valley Road Report. 470 was backed up, as I understand it, from the West Virginia state line all the way back past the Route 214 exit, and some said clear back to St. Clairsville. So 470 eastbound was just backed up like crazy. And then some of that spilled off onto 70. And then, as you point out, Biff, there were at least 2 incidents on 70 of trucks getting problems. And I don't know what happened downtown. I know I saw several people saying, downtown's a disaster. It's a mess. Oh, my God, it's horrible down here. In fact, I know someone who works downtown, and his colleagues called and said, don't come in, don't come down. It's that bad. So now all of this, I don't, Mayor Elliott, don't get upset. The good stuff is happening in the city of Wheeling, but downtown is just an absolute anymore. And if you're a business downtown, listen, people are avoiding downtown. And even if people aren't avoiding downtown, sometimes they have to avoid your business because whole streets are closed off.
Right. I mean,
I'm coming down Main Street, and I just said, can I turn up 12th? Nope, 12th is closed. Can I turn up 14th? Nope, 14th is closed. Guess I'll go all the way down to Center Wheeling. I was trying to get to my Board of Trade office the other day, the Board of Trade building, coming down Main Street, turned left. 12th Street was open for the first half of it. 12th Street was open just up to Market Street, but then I couldn't get all the way up to so point is, council members do understand that the water line work, the sewer line work, all of this stuff, the potholes, is creating a real serious problem for downtown businesses. And so council is looking at a resolution that would exempt downtown businesses in the area that we're just talking about, basically from 9th Street down to 16th, I think, and Market Main and the side streets. They would be exempt from some of their business license requirements. It's a one-time only deal, but at least it would give them a little tiny bit of relief. Now, I don't know how much those licenses are. It's probably not a huge amount of money. Morning Intel says, for example, if you a private club license is $1,200. $1,200 is a great deal, great help, I'm sure, but in the grand scheme of things, given all the problems that these businesses have had, I don't know that it makes a huge actual difference, but at least it's a psychological help. At least the city is saying, you know what, we've got to get this work done. We have to get the water lines replaced. We've got to upgrade the sewer lines. All this stuff has to be done. It's got to be done before the streetscape gets started, hopefully next year. So there's huge inconvenience. We, the city, want to try to do something to acknowledge that. So I give them credit. Now, all I know about this at the moment is what I read in the Intel today, but I assume it to be true. And I guess council will take this up at their meeting tomorrow. Now, again, I'm going to actually try. I've been meaning to call the mayor, and I have not done so yet. I'm sure he'll be happy to do it. I want to get the mayor in here this week to talk about some of the positive things that he talked about during the State of the City speech. Again, McCabe and I discussed it on Friday. There's a lot of things happening from the city, public investment. The downtown Wheeling Street set aside. The city has done $1 million, has funded $1 million worth of street paving, not in downtown, but elsewhere. City streets are being paved. I believe I read where maybe as much another $500,000 could be coming to be allocated in the near future. They're doing a lot of work. You got the new police headquarters down in Center Wheeling. You've got the fire headquarters in East Wheeling. You've got the Wheeling Pit parking. I call it the Wheeling Pit parking garage. The mayor didn't like it to be called that, but the parking garage in downtown Wheeling, the new one that will be partly helping out with the development of the Wheeling Pit buildings. All of these things are very, very positive things. But there's also a lot of private investment. It's not gigantic. It's not huge, but there's a lot of little tiny downtown Wheeling private projects that are being done. Mayor talked about it on his own show a couple weeks ago, and I want to get him in here to talk more about that. Because as John and I said on Friday, the fact that you see private businesses making improvements to their buildings, to their facades, building new structures and so on, it's a sign that there is a belief the city of Wheeling is on the right track. Businesses who are investing in themselves in downtown are essentially saying, we believe the city is moving forward. We will invest ourselves because we believe the city is getting better. I'm going to, again, try to talk to the mayor more about this later on this week. I'll maybe reach out to him today. I've been meaning to do it for the last couple of days and have not done so. So we'll maybe get the mayor in to talk about that.
On that point, look at what is being done at the McClure, what they're doing with that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The McClure those are underway already, as I understand it. A new developer, the Roxby Development Corp. I don't know too much about that company. They've got a couple of big projects on their table, but it looks like the McClure is one that they're already working on, upgrading all of the rooms, floor by floor, not all at once, but upgrading all of the rooms to better rooms. They're going to put apparently like a lounge up on the very, very top floor, and some of the stuff I was reading about. I don't know too much about it other than what I read in the paper or saw on the Big 7 yesterday. But yeah, the McClure is another perfect example of that. And it only makes sense, Biff, if the Wheeling-Pittsburgh Steel Building is going to become a place where people are going to be living, and if the all of the other activities that are happening downtown are going to continue to improve, renovated and re-energized hotel makes a huge amount of sense. So that's another perfect example. The old Fort Henry Club, which at one point we all thought was going to just literally crumble away, is now owned by McKinley Engineering, and they've done a huge renovation to the facade there. So a lot of good stuff happening. And again, we'll get to the mayor in to talk about that. Our main theme of the morning, however, this morning has been COVID. And Marshall County went into the red in COVID yesterday. Ohio County's in gold and teetering on the edge. I have a sneaking suspicion. The numbers that I am seeing are not particularly good. We'll talk to Mark Ackerman. He's the Threat Preparedness Director for Marshall County's Health Department coming up in the next hour about what are the current numbers and what is being done and how does he assess this and all that sort of stuff. That's coming up in the next hour here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Look for a great day today weather-wise. Sunshine, blue skies, maybe a pop-up shower late in the afternoon, but basically sunshine, blue skies, more of what you had yesterday, and we'll just have it again today. A little bit warmer, 77 I think was the high yesterday. We'll push it up close to 80 today, but all in all, a really, really nice day. Still 59 degrees. clear skies, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 59, clear skies here at the home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. And 59 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. It's 9 o'clock. Let's see what ABC's got for us on the Olympics and more. That's next.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
From ABC News.
All right, Mark Ackerman should call at 9:10, Biffy. We'd be looking for that.